All right, everyone. I'm just going to make sure that we're live really quickly because I would hate to do this fabulous interview and we're not live. So give me 1 second. I hope you guys have had a fabulous day. I have. It's been great. Definitely holiday season is creeping up on me. All right, we are live. All right, guys. Welcome back. I haven't done one of these in a minute, and I definitely wanted to sneak one into my 24 Days of Christmas event. And we have Ashley McLemore. Okay. I always want to pronounce people's names correctly because I was like,
Absolutely.
I want anyone mispronouncing my name. So Ashley McLemore, she is an empowerment coach and business owner. She dives into the realm of diversity, inclusion, empowerment, and just all things awesomeness. So I want to first ask her the question, the dreaded question that we all get in our interviews. Tell me about yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Jordan. My name is Ashley McLemore, and my pronouns are she and her. And I am known as the Rihanna of setting boundaries in the workplace. A couple people have said this to me, and I'm taking it and I'm running with it. Okay. And what I really do is I like to work with folks one on one to help them get more clear about what they're experiencing as it relates to work. Oftentimes, folks are overwhelmed and exhausted, but still ambitious and driven and still wanting to do more. And so, really working with folks to help them understand what actually is causing some of this overwhelm, setting some boundaries, and reclaiming all of their damn joy. So that is what I do at Begin Collection on the coaching side, as well as incorporating some gemstone bracelets and using the power of gemstones to help folks manifest and bring their intentions forward as well.
Awesome. And we'll definitely get into boundary setting and burnout. But one of the things that I really want to get into, and I'm sure people watching live or on the replay really want to get into, is tell us about. She and I had a discussion before this, and she talked about her time in fashion and how she moved, how she transitioned in her career. So I really want to get to like the meat and potatoes. So how did you actually get started in fashion?
Yeah, so I always knew that I wanted to be in fashion. I actually thought I wanted to be a fashion designer until I realized I didn't really have the artistic eye. I didn't know that I had to sketch things and draw up my ideas. And so I actually got a bachelor's degree in fashion merchandising and marketing. And I worked in retail since high school. So that was my first like foot into it. And I actually loved it. I did retail, both fashion, like runway, New York Fashion Week, and retail for about 10 years.
Awesome. And when you say retail, what specific, like the industry is fashion, but what do you mean specifically by retail?
Oh, yes. So almost every store in the mall. I'm not joking.
Oh wow.
So I've worked for Claire's. There are a couple different urban stores that are closed now, but they're similar to a Jimmy Jazz if you're on the East Coast.
Okay.
Um, I worked at Victoria's Secret. I worked at Hot Topic. I worked at even some of the little booths in the mall. I've done it all, and then I went super high end when I moved to New York City
Hmm.
and worked for the number 1 luxury brand in the world, Bergdorf Goodman. There's only one. That's how amazing it is
Wow.
in,
Okay.
New York City on Fifth Avenue, and
Hmm.
then I did some private label as well.
Okay. And then so working in fashion and retail, what kind of skills did you pick up and what kind of experience did you pick up?
So many. Uh, the main one that I would use in interviews for jobs was my people skills. So being in retail, you have to be a salesperson, and to be a
Mhm.
salesperson, you have to be a people person. And I had to learn that skill very, very quickly. And then oftentimes I was the store manager, so I also had to teach people how to learn and craft that skill as well. So people. getting to know people.
Communication skills is something that I talk about a lot on my on social media, on website, anywhere I can, and scream it to the hilltops, or scream it over the hilltops. I will, because without, you can go and get every tech certification, or every, you can go get 1,000 certificates, but without true people skills, it's going to be hard to kind of level up. And like you were saying, you're the store manager, and that takes leadership, communication, and people skills. So I think that one of the core topics that hopefully the audience gets out of this is that people skills need to be on point.
Yes.
But so when you were in fashion, especially like the high end, like Goldman, where did you kind of see yourself going? Did you see yourself staying there or moving? Like what's after Goldman?
Yes. So I grew up in Ohio. So I started all of this in Ohio. And so I moved to New York City for bigger and better. And good old Big Apple dream. And I learned so much. So much. And Bergdorf Goodman was one of the great experiences that I had while I was in New York City. And I also got to see like celebrity shopping, and I met literal heirs, like princesses came to Bergdorf Goodman to shop. I worked in the private jewelry department. So I worked with everything over $150,000 a piece.
Yeah.
So I got to see real money.
Yeah.
And during that experience, I also got to witness and sometimes firsthand experience folks that just were not nice. Like they were not nice. They were in a rush. They were rude. They were mean, condescending, like the list. And I thought, man, there has to be something better for me. There has to be something else for me to do. If someone's going to be yelling at me, I don't want it to be about a ring.
Yep.
And yeah.
So even though you were working with heiresses and you were working with celebrities and these $150,000 pieces at Goodman, what was the kind of turning point? Was it the yelling, or what was it specifically that you said, you know what, I gotta go, I gotta transition?
Yeah. So right after Bergdorf Goodman, I worked for a private jeweler, and that was actually the turning point.
Okay.
It was an amazing experience. It actually led me into my bracelet business. And also, it was a tipping point because I was experiencing just literal yelling, sometimes throwing things, screaming. Like, I kid you not, like, think of Prada, Deborah Was Prada. Think of that show, that movie.
Yeah.
That's what I experienced for almost 2 years.
Gosh.
And I was like, wow, is it worth the benefits? Is it worth the inside and all the tips and tricks that I was learning about the industry working in the fashion in the diamond district? It wasn't. And then I kept working there, but decided to go to school and get another degree because that's how I do things.
I'm gonna go get another one. It's fine. So, and then we'll definitely get into your transition and the degree you got, but I really want to kind of dive deep into this. So you're working at a private jeweler. People, the benefits were great, the pay was good, and you liked it, but there was something. So the yelling and the just people being just rude and not acting like the grown-ups that they were. That was the thing that kind of pushed you over. So can you talk about kind of, were you burnt out? Was it just that specifically? Because a lot of times what I see are people are like, I can't leave this job. It has great benefits. The pay is good. I can't leave for X, Y, and Z, even though they're undervalued, mistreated, and all this other stuff. So can you kind of speak to that in your experience?
Absolutely. For this one, I wouldn't title it as burnout. I've definitely experienced burnout. We might touch on that at some point, but this experience was more, I wasn't fulfilled, like personally fulfilled. I wasn't passionate about going to work, and a part of me knew that there was something more for me. I didn't
Mhm.
quite know what it was, and so until I started researching schools and different programs, but I just knew that this wasn't it. This
Mm.
couldn't be it.
I love that. This isn't it. That's something that I'm sure we all have been sitting in a job and like, you know what? It's
Mhm.
okay. I like it, but this ain't it. So when you finally figured out, okay, this isn't it. Can you talk a little bit about your kind of research, the research phase? A lot of people, they say this ain't it or this isn't it, and then they stop. That just hard stop, and then nothing
Mhm.
else. And I'm like, well, if this is not for you, let's get on to the University of Google and figure it out. So how did you go about the research process for
Yes,
school?
absolutely, and I know that this is something that you do with your clients, so
Mhm.
that's great. One thing that I really wanted to look into, there was a part of me when I was growing up, to flashback a moment, I literally thought, "I'm gonna be in fashion, and then I'll retire as a sex educator." That was literally my thought in high school. I have it on paper somewhere. So I had a direction.
Okay.
And so I thought, okay, let me look into sex education
Mhm.
and see what that could look like. What degrees could I get there? And so that was my initial starting point. I'm a planner, so I actually stayed working while taking, I think, my first semester of
Mhm.
classes, and when the second semester rolled around, I gave them my schedule at the private jeweler, and they were like, "Oh, we can't do this." And I was like, "Well, I'm quitting."
Okay.
That's just okay.
Yeah. She's like, I'm out.
I figured it all out.
Mhm.
Calculated the numbers, and I had it together. So I was like, "No, no, no. That's fine. If you won't adjust to this schedule, that's
Mhm.
okay. I will leave."
Gotta
And
go.
I did.
No, that's great. It's refreshing to see because um it's almost a case of you don't know what you don't know, in terms of like when
Mhm.
people they know that this whatever they're doing right now isn't it, but they stop there, and instead of getting on Google, instead of, hey, what am I interested in, hey, what are my passions, I love that you went and said, you know what, I when I was in when I was younger, I said I want to be a sex educator, so let's dive into that, let's explore that, versus you saying I don't know what I want to do and I'm not going to try to figure it out, so I guess
Yeah.
so and I see a lot of people do this, and I'm like, it's you know what you're interested in, and for people that say I'm not interested in anything, you probably are. You just have to kind of dig deep and find it. And so after you researched and you kind of kept going with it, how did you veer from wanting to be a sex educator to public health care?
Yes, absolutely. So, the program that I ended up selecting, I was able to have a concentration on sex and sexuality,
Oh,
but
nice.
the degree is a master's in health education and promotion.
Mm,
So, I didn't get a traditional MPH, which a lot of people in the field that I went into there after grad school, that's what a lot of people have. And
mhm,
so I didn't know that at the time. I just thought this health education thing was more interesting. And
mhm.
I just got that degree because that's what I liked.
There you
And which has kind of been the pattern of my life.
go.
And so after doing that, I looked at my resume and it was all fashion. And I was like,
Mm,
whew, I need to I need to volunteer. I need to work part-time. I need to change this so that when I finished grad school, I could say I have a degree and I have a little experience here, a little experience there.
mhm.
I can do a thing. And so that's what I did for almost 2 years, a year and a half of finishing grad school and really just building up my health side of my resume.
I love that. I actually like if if more people were planners, well, if more people were planners, I'd be out of a job. But
True.
I like the fact that you actually took the time to say, okay, I, you took the time to say, I want to go into this field and I don't have the experience that I need to get into the field. So therefore, what can I do? A lot of times when people are transitioning, they're like, I don't have experience and I'm not going to go get the experience. So how can I transition? And I'm like, well, hold on. Like, there are such thing as transferable skills, but you can use transferable skills and the actual, like industry skills and pair them together. So I
Mhm.
think that it's important to say, I'm going to get this, whether I volunteer, like you said, work part-time. It's going to take a little bit of extra elbow grease, but we can do
Mhm.
it. So once you got so you're going through school, you're getting your degree, are you still working at this time, or you said bye to the private label? So what was going on at that point?
Oh, yeah. So at that point, like, New York City hustle is no joke. It's real. I also want to disclaim I was in my 20s, so I had it in me. I don't have it in me anymore, guys.
Quiet life.
So um I I did a lot, actually. So I was able to a friend told me about two things.
Mm-hmm.
One was a free certification, and
Okay.
all you had to do to get the certification was volunteer 2 days a week, on like a 24-hour helpline, or not 2
Oh,
days, 2 days a month. And I
okay.
was like, "Great, I'm gonna get the certification." It was for, a queer crisis counselor.
Okay.
Great. So I did that, and then I started to network with the folks that worked there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, people skills. Then I was referred to a program that was kinda like a Peace Corps, but it was based in New York City. And
Okay.
so you got a very little tiny itty bitty bit of money, teeny tiny, for about
Okay.
10, I think it was 10 months. It was less than a year. And I got to work at New York City Health Department.
Okay.
New York City Health Department. It has over 6,000 employees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is a big deal. So, little me with no background in health or public health, as well as hadn't quite finished my degree yet, I hopped on that. So, I'm
Wow.
doing both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then for some money, additional money, I also did liquor and wine promotion. So, like,
Nice.
I'm a well-rounded
I was
lady,
like,
okay?
Renaissance woman.
Okay. So, for me, getting into New York City Health Department was the biggest goal.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got in, I talked to everybody. I found out my deputy commissioner, which is like the boss's boss,
Mm-hmm.
was from Cleveland, Ohio. Oh, we were chummy. I was like, how can I how can I these people skills, they're just working, working, working. And when the 10-month program was finished, they brought me on as a consultant.
Nice.
Why? Because I did a presentation showing all the work that I did and that they had no one to do it when I left.
Oh, so
Yes.
you were your own plug. Okay.
What?
Oh wow. So
Mhm.
this presentation, did someone ask you to do this or you just did it yourself?
No. So a part of the, like, the service program, they
Mm-hmm.
asked us to put something together, but we didn't have to present it. It was just put together a PowerPoint.
Oh, okay.
And I asked my supervisor at the time, I'm like, "Hey, like, do you think I could pitch this pitch?" I didn't even know it was a pitch then. I was just like, I always wanna get in the room. That's
Yeah.
always my goal, because I know and have faith in my people skills. So, I was like, "If I get in the room with these people that can sign my contract, I'll be able to do it." And
Mm-hmm.
I did. So, she made some things happen and set a date on the calendar that was also just before I quit, like, my
Mm-hmm.
not I quit, before my service ended,
Okay.
and within the next month or so, I was on a contract as a consultant.
Wow. See, that is definitely some hustle there. And you made it happen. Like, you didn't wait for someone to kind of, hey, here's a job, and I think that's a great testament to what others can do when they really like put their mind to it and just get out there and try different things. One of the things I try to do for my clients, whether they be introverts or extroverts, we're going to work with your strengths. So if, for example, you have people skills, we're going to work the mess out of that. And we're just going to get you out here talking and doing what you got to do, versus an introvert where, okay, now I know that your social battery might be drained. So let's work on networking a little bit more online so that you feel more comfortable. And I like the fact that you kind of, even though they asked you to put something together, you went above and beyond. One of I just saw something that was interesting, and I want your take on it. So I saw in a Facebook group, and someone was saying that they were being asked to do other duties, that line in the job description, other duties as prescribed, and they were asked to do a lot of things outside their scope. So at what point, because I know you dive into burnout and things like that, at what point does it become, okay, I'm getting new skills and learning new things, versus, okay, now they're just asking me to do everything that everybody, 8 jobs for one person?
Yeah, that is a great question. One thing that popped into my head was the difference between when your supervisor thinks it's a good idea and when you think it's a good idea. So sometimes I've heard, I'm chuckling, so I'm like, "Ooh, can I get this exact phrasing?" Something along the lines of, "This would be a great opportunity for you, dot, dot, dot." So that's your supervisor's idea, right?
Okay.
And unless you specifically said, "Hey, supervisor, I want experience in dot, dot, dot," this is benefiting them. It's not actually benefiting you. Now, does that mean you don't do it? Maybe. I think that there are a couple things to balance here. Do you know that, let's say management, right? So you want to go to management, and so you need to supervise people. So there's some interns, and they're like, "Oh, can you manage them?" Yeah, because now you get to write that down as management skills.
Yep.
But if you actually have no desire in management, and that's the only level up, this is just your supervisor giving you a task that they don't want to do. So there has to be some critical thinking in place of, is this something I actually want to do, or is this something that my supervisor wants me to do? And then balancing, okay, sure, I could do that for 2 months,
Yeah. No,
right?
that was a great analogy, a great way to put it. What I ended up writing back to the woman on Facebook was that sometimes you just gotta suck it up and do what you gotta do. Other times it's having a conversation, like you said, with your supervisor and stating, instead of this task or role, I'd like to start incorporating this task or role because I think it'll be mutually beneficial. One of the things that people love to kind of put out there is, like, you go to work and you go home. That's great if you don't want to move up. If you don't want to go anywhere, just go to work and go home. If you want to move up, I do think, like you were saying, it's good to kind of stretch yourself just a little bit. You don't want to be a doormat, but just stretch yourself to the point where you're getting the leadership experience. Because a lot of people there's like, I want to get into a manager or leadership role, but I don't have, like, there's no way for me to get leadership experience. Well, have you gone to your supervisor, or have you looked around your your company and seen if there's anything lacking or any roles that you could kind of take on? So I definitely agree with you.
Yes, create something. Look around. There's always something.
There's always somebody needs something done. Or you can make it like you made that presentation and you pitched it. There's always something that you can kind of bring, especially if you have those good communication skills. And one concept that I like to push out, and it's kind of a business concept, but I like to use it for professionals as well, is that know, like, and trust factor. If your supervisor knows, likes, and trusts you, they're more willing to go to bat for you. Like your supervisor was like, yeah, let me pull some strings and you can pitch this. But if your supervisor doesn't like you, not saying that you have to like brown nose or whatever, but if your supervisor is just like, man, this person's never working, they're never here, it's not going to be beneficial for you, even though you're collecting a check by going to work and then going home. So that's just my 2 cents on it. But let's get back to, so you've kind of gotten into this consultant role, and did you finish school before you got the consultant role?
Exact timeline, I want to say there was maybe 6 months
Okay.
from getting the role and then finishing grad school. And then my contract was it was less than a year for sure. And then my supervisor that got me that meeting set, she left. And she was like, Ashley needs my job.
Oh, see, she knows like to trust you.
She's like, nope, that's who you need to hire. And so then I was hired as an employee. Yeah.
Nice. See, that's what comes from hustling.
And good leadership and management, because she could have been like, whatever.
Yeah. So it was good on both her and your part, because she could have been, she could have had like bad leadership skills, and you never would have been able to kind of, so it's piecing it together. It's when we, not to be cliche, but when we work together, we go further. I think that one of the questions that I want to ask you, because it was in my brain and now I just remembered it. So when you were going through school and all these different activities and even jumping on the consultant thing, how did you avoid burnout at that point?
Whew. I didn't. I didn't. I instead went the route of, okay, this is temporary. So I felt all the things, and I definitely, I literally just told this story the other day. I ran on 5 hours of sleep for 2 years. Just about.
Yeah.
So between the commute and all the different activities and working and studying, about 5 hours of sleep a night. Now, for some people, they're like, wow, that's great. For me, I'm a regular like 8 to 9 hour sleep getter of sleep. So that was not great. It was not great for me. But I had the mindset of, this is temporary. It's not going to be forever. You have a plan. Because again, I'm truly a planner at my core. So I knew I could see the end. So there were definitely moments of exhaustion and overwhelm. What helped me at that time were my friends.
Oh.
For sure. One of my friends from high school, I will never forget. I called her. I was stressed out. I was probably crying. I was like, I just can't do it. This paper doesn't make sense. I don't even remember what I was ranting about. And she said, Ashley, you always get it done. And it was the most basic advice and compliment. But I sat for a second. I was like, I do.
Yeah.
Every time it feels impossible, I still get it done. So, all right, switch gears. Focus, 2 years. Here's the plan. You always get it done. Go. And so that's how I got through that. I wouldn't have called it burnout then either, but now I know. It definitely was some spouts of burnout throughout those 2 years.
Yeah. For anyone looking to go back to school, because I was working full time and I got my master's as well. One of the things that I like to tell people is that, one, do your research. If you find that you don't need it, obviously, save yourself from the student loans. But also, if you find yourself needing it and going back to school, one of the things that can really help is we don't look at enough of the company benefits. And one
Mm,
of the benefits that you can do that'll make it a little bit less stressful. I mean, it's good. You're gonna have to do the work, but is to get the company to pay for it.
yeah.
And one of the things that I really tell people to look for is look at the benefits of the company you work for now. And if they pay for your school, do it. As long as the terms are right, or if even if you're looking for another job and you're getting that benefits package and you see that on there, that is a
Mhm.
great benefit. It's not going to look like it at the time because maybe you're gonna be like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go back to
Mhm.
school. But 2 years from now, when they tell you no, you can't be a manager because you don't have that degree, you're gonna be like, dang, I really need it now. So look at that benefits package and don't just look at the salary, look at the totality of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we've gotten to your now you're a consultant, or not a consultant, you're a full-time employee of
Mhm.
the company. Yes, girl, a full-time employee. So you said one of my favorite words, mindset. So
Mhm.
what was your mindset kind of going forward from fashion to public health care in that sector?
Um, I guess, are you asking about, like, the shifts in my mindset?
Yes. So you're saying, so you said I have all fashion, all that. I got
Mhm.
all this experience. Now, what was your mindset once you actually sat down, planned, executed the plan, and got into, that full-time role?
Yeah. I hadn't worked for government before.
Okay.
So, and even though I was there in 2 different capacities, being an employee was different, and so I got to learn that and experience bureaucracy and what it can look like for things to go real slow. Uh,
Real.
e Even when I want them to go faster.
Hmm.
And I also learned, how to put my advocacy in action.
Okay.
So, I really teamed up with a group of 2 different groups. One one group of predominantly Black and African American folks, and
Hmm.
then another group of queer people, and we just started making changes all over the organization. Like, we need all-inclusive restrooms, we need Black History Month events, we need this, that, we need to change our employment, application, and so I got into advocacy, and I was like, "Ooh," still as an employee, doing it internally and not, out protesting, but, I was able to use all these connections that I had built over the year and a half or so to forge these alliances really across departments. Again, it's over 6,000 employees, it's
Right.
22 floors.
Ooh, okay.
So it really took navigation to get folks together and sitting at tables with people that were 2 and 3 levels higher than me,
Mm.
PhDs, doctorates, MDs, like, and just, "Hey, I have a question. Hey, this thing is wrong. Hey, how about we do it this way?" And, I really revved up, that fire, and so, um, that shifted. I didn't have that. I still had a fire, but I wasn't into advocacy in that way at all when I was in the fashion industry.
Okay. So with the advocacy, because I want to dive a little bit into that. So I went and looked at some of your social media, and I know I did. I do my homework, y'all. I do my homework. So in one of your, I'm assuming it's one of your bios, you said that you're a former perfectionist and good child.
Mm, mm.
So how did in terms of advocacy, how did that, did you still have that perfectionist kind of mindset when you got into it, or were you kind of just going with the flow because you had these groups of people around you?
I definitely had I definitely was still a perfectionist for sure. It still to this day pops up every once in a while, and then I'm like, "No, it's fine." and then it goes away. But I definitely still wanted everything to be perfect and neat and organized, which partially is the planner brain, but the other part of it is like, well, if it's perfect, they can't say no, or if it's perfect, um, they won't have a critique,
Mm-hmm.
right? They won't have negative feedback to give. So I just need to make it perfect and then it'll be fine. And in reality, one, I believe everything is already perfect. We just make it more complicated than it needs to be. And then two, I can't ever determine what the other person is going to say or do.
Yes.
I can get real close. I've gotten close before with all the scenarios that I've been able to create in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
but there's literally no way. And so what I work with my clients on is you will drive yourself wild, spiraling, obsessing, and ruminating over a potential outcome that you have no idea is going to be true or not, and no control over because it's somebody else making that decision.
Mm. Yep. Agreed. I think that I think that sometimes we use, and I've done it too, I think we use perfectionism as a form of procrastination, and
Mm,
it kind of holds us back from realizing like our potential, but it also holds us, we think it protects us from rejection and people judging us, but all it does is kind of just you're masking up anything that can
mm.
shine for you, and it just, we just slap that pretty label of perfectionist on it, and we just go about our day. Did you find that if you had those perfectionist tendencies, did you find that it kind of held you back just a little bit, or even at all, when you were trying to talk to and get into the room with people that were 2, 3, 4 steps, above you or higher than you? I won't say above you, but MDs and stuff.
Right. Yeah. I was definitely operating in a hierarchy, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fair. um, I wouldn't say so. Perfectionism to me is a symptom that is caused by something else. And
Mhm,
so what I found for me, and I think it happens to a lot of Black women or Black femme presenting folks, is
mhm,
that because of the narratives of what Blackness can and cannot be, how we are allowed to speak or what we are allowed to look like, all of those layers impact how we move and how
mhm,
we decide to communicate or not. And oh, I'm not going to say anything in this meeting because I don't want to be the angry Black woman.
mhm,
Or, no, I said something last time, so I shouldn't say anything this time. Maybe they'll think I'm difficult. So those things is also known as stereotype threat, when internalized, can show up on the outside as perfectionism and or ruminating or obsessing over a conversation or topic that you had because you're like, oh, this person's gonna think I'm uh, difficult or you're too hard to work with, right?
mhm,
You ask so many questions, like, oh, I'm asking questions because I have ideas. And they're like, oh, you're difficult. And it's really usually a perception. It's usually not real. No one has actually ever said it
mhm,
in maybe in that specific job, maybe you have a real life experience where it happened. And so now we just carry it everywhere instead of, okay, that did happen once. That was terrible. I didn't like that feeling. I'm going to try it and see what happens. Um, and instead, it's like, nope, that was bad. I ain't doing that again. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like even though the experience could be bad, but there's a whole case of mitigating factors. And
Yes.
most of the time we talk ourselves out of doing whatever it was again, but actually doing it would help us become more confident and competent in it. So
Yes.
I'm like, oh, we stopped ourselves from speaking up, but if we did it more often, we'd feel way more comfortable.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
like a circle of I don't know what's going on.
The cycle. Yeah, for sure. That's exactly it.
So when you were doing the advocacy and you were kind of making changes, did that or that along with all the other things that you kind of encompassed for us today, did that
Yeah,
really help you move into the empowerment culture coach role?
absolutely. For sure. I have been informally coaching people all of my life. I did not know that. I knew that I was the helper. I knew that I was the friend that most of my friends went to ask for advice,
Mhm.
or even if it was to help them plan something. I knew that, but I hadn't put the two together.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until 2020 I have been making custom bracelets for folks under Begin Collection for several years prior. And during the conversations with people, I always ask, what are your intentions? So what are you trying to manifest? Because I want to understand what they want so that I can make bracelets and pick stones that coordinate with that
Mhm.
intention. And oftentimes I would get, I'm so overwhelmed. I want to be heard and understood. So something around communication. And one person specifically stood out to me and they
Mhm.
said, I just want to be me. I don't want to be mom or doctor or wife. I
Mm.
just want to get back to me. And I would create this bracelet and go through the process with them and give them prototypes. So, 2 or 3 different ideas of what the
Mhm.
bracelet could look like. And they pick and they do this whole thing. And then they get the bracelet, and that's it. And that just started to feel like it was falling flat for me.
Mhm.
And I wanted to be able to give more support to people in a way that can really make longer term change. Because the bracelet can be with you as long as you want it. It's
Mhm.
your daily reminder of your intention. And also, um, I'm like, there's so much more for me to give. Yeah.
So you felt like it was good, like the bracelets and everything, you felt good about it, but you felt like maybe there was a bit more to like maybe your purpose or something a little bit more to fulfill you, something like that?
Yeah. I was like, well, what else could I do? And consulting was already on this one side of my mind, but I was like, that felt more corporate, more organizational. I
Mhm.
was like, how can I help people one on one? And what what am I most passionate about? I'm most passionate about talking with folks around their blackness and their queerness and their sexuality. And so I was like, okay, cool, got that. And then, all right, I got the bespoke bracelets that I work with people on. How can I move these two together? Okay, if I could expand into a program, I figured out that it was an 8-week program and a 12-week program, but I didn't know
Mhm.
that at the time. And so if I can expand into a longer term thing, what would that look like? And nerd again, I started researching. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a coach. I can be a coach. Sure, I
Mhm.
could be a coach. I can." Great. So then I found some coaches to coach me to be a coach.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. I think in the long term or in the long run, we are so focused on just getting more money or to the bag or whatever that we're not really focused on like purpose and passion. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, don't focus on your passion or purpose. But there's only so much like money obviously is important. It's a tool. But at the end of
Mhm.
the day, money is like you can always make more money, but you can't always make more time. And
Mhm.
so my one of my things is when we go and If you want to make more money, great. But what do you actually want to do? Whatever you want to do, let's figure out how to do that. And then we'll figure out how to make sure that the money is coming. So for
Mhm.
we have like teachers, right? Unfortunately, they're not the best paid especially in the States, in the United States. But what can we do where you can teach and make that impact you want and still make some money? So sometimes we get into curriculum design or things like that
Mhm.
to make a little bit of extra money. Or you can, it's going to take a little hustle, but you can start a side hustle and let that pay your bills, but still teach and do the thing that you're really passionate about if you're passionate about it. And I think a lot of times people they're like, oh no, I'll do anything, just tell me what job. And I'm like, I can suggest to you underwater basket weaving, but you probably don't want to do that. um let's figure out what your interests are and what you want to do first, and then we'll get to like they want like 500, a list of like 500 different jobs. I'm like, that's not going to help you. That's going to frustrate and overwhelm you more.
Yep.
And I really love how it kind of came full circle, how you got your degree and then say it the whole thing again for me.
Masters in Health Education and Promotion,
With a concentration in
Sex and Sexuality.
there you go. So it came full circle, guys. For those who are like, I'm never going to use my degree, you might. You might.
Okay.
And so I really love that it came full circle, and now you're working in your purpose, in your passion, and probably going to be making a ton of money doing it. And so there you go. I did have I wanted to talk really briefly because we have a
Mhm.
little bit of time left. I wanted to talk about your in coaching business and how you kind of incorporate the stones. I know we kind of talked about it, and you were saying that it's almost like it's a reminder of what you
Mhm.
wanted to infuse. Can you kind of, because I was kind of interested in that. What is,
Yeah, absolutely. So, every stone is associated with a chakra
yeah.
and is also associated with certain healing properties. And I use the conversations that I have with with my clients, my coaching clients, to craft a bracelet that is going to represent what it is that they want out of their life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And whether they're in the 8-week program or the 12-week program, towards the end of either of those, it's almost like a graduation gift kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Oh,
like, okay, so we started off talking about this thing, and here's what I put together for you to take on. And, there are other programs and we can continue to work together, but it's their daily reminder
mm-hmm.
for what it is that they want to bring into their life. So if it's something like this Dalmatian Jasper bracelet, this one is about centering kid-like fun, play, and joy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, get a little closer.
Oh, yes. Okay.
It, it looks like a Dalmatian, like a dog. And so this is Dalmatian Jasper. And so if they want to feel like a kid again, maybe I'll use that stone, right? And so it's something that you can wear with you and
Mm-hmm.
look down and go, oh, yeah, that is. Or when you're getting dressed in the morning, you have options. You're like, this is what I do because I have options. I'm like, oh, this is what I want to wear today. I have on 2 grounding stones. Can you see it? Yeah.
Um, little bit. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Okay. I'm like,
I'm
which
like,
camera? I have 2 grounding stones. I have
uh-huh.
black lava and hematite here.
Oh,
They're
no.
both used for the root chakra so that if you're feeling unstable, unsure, kind of shaky, that's something to ground you and root you and like kind of bring you back home, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. And so today I had this interview, and then I had a big presentation at 3 o'clock today. So it's like, oh no, I need my grounding
There
to
you go.
be steadfast and know
Mm-hmm.
that I have all the right answers and that they will flow.
Nice. I love that. I love that it's like a constant reminder, because I feel like that's what we need.
Mm,
We definitely need to be reminded of just the daily things in our lives that we want to pursue and progress in. So I love that.
yes. Yes, I tell people all the time, I'm like, your therapist won't be with you in that meeting.
There
I
you
won't
go.
be with you when you're talking to your boss. So you have your begin bracelet, your gemstones to remind you, oh right, use my voice, open my throat chakra, go.
I love that. And do you incorporate like chakras into the empowerment coaching? Like all of that is in the what can someone expect when they
Ooh.
work with you for the 8 or 12 weeks?
Yeah, so all of this, okay? This is not a performance, this is me all of the time. So you can get all of this as well as the beautiful thing about my career journey is that I have all these tidbits of information.
Mhm.
So you want the best craft cocktail? I got you. Why? Because I was a cocktail waitress, okay?
There you
That's
go.
one bonus. I mean, it's not related to coaching, but it might be. All right. We can talk
We might
about
be.
twerking. Why? Because I love dancing. I dance every day, all day, literally at least once or twice a day. So we're going to incorporate what it is that brings you joy is really the goal at the end of the day. So if you don't like dancing or you don't like craft cocktails, I am uh, empowering you and encouraging my clients to find that thing. And so I am patient and I'm like, okay, let's figure this thing out. If that means we need to talk about zodiac signs or your human design or chakras or color therapy. I got it all in here.
Oh
So,
wow. Yes. Okay, guys. I'm loving it. I've talked to I can't remember right now, but what her title was, but I've talked to another coach that she talked about like chakras and all that stuff. And I was like, oh okay. I was like, this is interesting. See, I'm not familiar with like the color chakra and all that stuff. So every time I hear about it, I'm like, oh, this is fascinating.
quick tidbit, it's actually color therapy I learned from my fashion degree.
Nice.
Mhm.
See, guys, it all comes together. If you think you can put your experience together and craft one amazing person, and you need to look at Ashley and see that she has used every bit of education and experience, no matter where it was from.
Mhm.
See,
Mhm.
you gotta use what you have. That's another thing I like to say.
Seriously.
Like you don't need you need to assess if you need something more, but before you even get to that, what do you already have? Like what are the experiences, education, like what do you already have before we start going out and spending all these money on certs and education and all that stuff? Like what do you already have that you can make it work for you?
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
But I think we are just about done, but I want to say thank you so much
Mm.
for joining me today. One thing that Ashley has for you all is 7 tips before quitting your job. She knows what she is talking about, and it is a freebie for you. It'll be down in the description below. I'll sorry, I've been talking all day. I'm sorry. So her coaching page and her Instagram will also be down in the description below. But can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yes, yes, yes. Again, my name is Ashley McLemore. My pronouns are she and her, and I can be found at begin_collection on Instagram. If you would like to be connected to me on LinkedIn, that is Ashley McLemore.
All right, let me see. Is this work technology? All right, begin_underscore collections on
Yes.
Instagram, and then I will have all of her links down in the description below. Is there any final parting wisdom words that you would like to share with us?
I should have been prepared for this.
It's an interview.
That's not my parting word. My parting word is okay, it is December 16th. If you are watching this, either currently or on the replay, take a deep breath in your nose, out your mouth, and ask yourself, when was the last time you had a break? We all need them. Even if it's an hour, take a damn break. That's it.
Yes. Yes, I was like, wow. I was like, what's she gonna say? And I was like, oh, I need to take a break after this. I've been
Take
going
a
all
break,
day.
Jordan.
Take a breath. Well, thank you so much. Guys, this is day 16 of my 24 days of Christmas event. All about career transitioning and how the fabulous Miss Ashley transitioned from fashion to public health care, and now she's an empowerment coach. Make sure you guys clap it up to her. If you go on Instagram, make sure you guys DM her, tell her how awesome this interview was. And I will catch you guys tomorrow back on Instagram. And it'll be day 17 of the 24 days of Christmas. If you've missed it, don't worry. It's all still there. So make sure you guys go and check that out. Again, thank you so much, Ashley. And I am definitely going to keep in contact because I have 1,000 different questions. And yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jordan.
All right. Thank you. I will talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.